So for example, instead of saying, say sorry, saying, how can you make a better choice? Or instead of saying, be kind and be nice, how can this be kind but also honest but also fair? So kind of turning these things into question, so because that gives your child more ownership and leadership in them trying to figure it out.
Hi guys, and welcome back to the Madinat Mom Podcast, where we have real motherhood conversations, expert insights, and of course, coffee to fuel the chat. I'm Nour, your host, and I'm here to remind you that you are not alone in your motherhood journey. Today, we're exploring one of the most important topics for every parent, and that is how to help our kids navigate big emotions and develop emotional resilience. My guest is Gigi Al-Aqad, a mom of 2 girls and a certified kids life coach who has always been passionate about working and connecting with children. She left her career of 10 years in project management and decided to find her purpose in pursuing kids life coaching certification. Gigi works with kids ages 6 and above in a private one-on-one basis and group workshops. She uses play-based therapeutic methods to help children learn skills related to emotional regulation, self-confidence, communication, and social skills. Gigi, welcome to the Madinat Mom Podcast.
Thank you, Nour. Thank you for having me.
So let's start with you. Let's start with Gigi. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So I'm a mom of 2 girls. I'm Palestinian, been living in Dubai for 10 years now. I've lived in between Jordan, Dubai, the US. Mostly been in the US for about 15 years, studied there, my bachelor's, my master's, and worked there. But then transitioned to Dubai after getting married. And yeah, we're here now.
And you worked in the corporate world in project management for 10 years.
Yes.
What was the moment where you realized you wanted to pursue something different?
Mm-hmm. Honestly, after having 2 girls, and I remember so clearly actually, like my second daughter, Talia, was maybe 2 months old. I remember being in her room pumping back then, and I just knew I couldn't go back to my regular job. And with obviously, Dubai, like the working hours are not normal working hours. And I honestly was not very fulfilled with my job. I was not super happy. So the idea of leaving my 2 girls for something that was not making me happy, was not making me feel fulfilled, I knew I had to change that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then did you have life coaching in mind, or is that something that you started exploring when you realized you wanted to shift in your career?
I did not have life coaching in mind, actually. I just knew I was a person who just loved always helping others. Like the feeling of servicing other people just made me happy, just kind of filled my cup. From family, friends, strangers, I just loved that feeling I used to have doing it. And being back in the US, I also used to volunteer a lot with nonprofit organizations, so I worked with refugees as well. So that sort of work where I try to have a positive impact on other people, just always something I knew I loved doing. And obviously with becoming a mom also, your priorities change a bit, right? So especially after my first daughter, I really started digging into more, parenthood and the methods, understanding their brain. And somehow, like, my friends would also come to me with everything related to motherhood and what makes sense, what doesn't make sense, and what they should do now. So I was reading a lot, I was doing a lot of research. But when that moment came of deciding to do kids life coaching, I just knew I wanted to do something related to kids, because I just always, connected with kids. I loved working with kids. I loved being that adults always, sitting down and playing with kids. So, and I knew I loved also helping others and leaving an impact on other people. I remember back then, and it's still going, like life coaching was like a trending topic, right? It was trending. Everyone was a life coach. But I was curious, like, okay, I want to coach. I want to be there for people and help them out. But I want to work with kids. Like, how can I combine these two? And honestly, it was literally a Google search. I typed, does kids life coaching exist? That's how it really started. And probably two things that were interesting came up as a result. And one of them was the certification and the academy that I went through. Mm-hmm. And yeah, that was the start of it.
I love that. I love kids as well. And so I think you have... I want to get to know a little bit of what you do during your day, but we'll get to that. But for those that don't really understand the term life coaching, because as you said, now it's trending, but when we were growing up, I don't think I ever heard of that term before. So can you explain to us, what does life coaching actually mean?
Sure. I'm going to talk about it in more of a terms of kids life coaching, since it's what I'm doing. So it's really all about helping children understand and learn life skills. So these life skills are not for people who certainly have problems or challenges. It's really for any human, for any child, to learn the essential skills to help them navigate through challenges, to help them navigate through problems and ups and downs in life. So it's simple things like, how to regulate emotions, how to feel more confident in your body, some of the tools and things to do when, you have a big challenge or a big project coming up. So it's practical tools and essential life skills that really any child should have to just help them grow in a more confident way with more positive mindset.
At what age would you start life coaching a kid?
So I personally work with kids ages 6 or 7 and above. I personally work until up to 14 because that age where their brain is still developing, but also their brain is more adaptable to change and adaptable to unlearn things and changing some ways, which is why it's the perfect age for that sort of coaching. Yeah.
What does a session with you sort of look like?
So I use a method called play-based therapeutic coaching, which is, from its name, it's all about play. But of course, play comes in all sort of different forms. So play can be role-playing, can be art, can be movement, can be storytelling, mindfulness. It really depends on the child needs, on their interests. Because I create coaching programs and plans depending on the child, depending on the needs, the skills we need to work on, their interests. And so the session is really, you'll see sensory equipment and toys, you'll see books, you'll see, we have a big space where we can move around. If some kids, have difficulty with maybe focusing and sitting much, then we can have, bean bags and balls. So we try to make it really tailor-made to every child with various type of needs and challenges.
Do the parents come to you telling you the challenge that they feel their kid is going through?
Like, you mean, do they know?
Do they know?
Sometimes they do. Like, a parent would come to me and say, my child have big feelings and they don't know how to express them, or they don't know how to regulate. So sometimes they do, but sometimes even if they do, there's always kind of a why. There's always kind of a backstory of why things are a certain way. And sometimes some things just make sense. Obviously, kids are developing, so also some skills don't develop like so early on. It takes time. So it just needs more consistency, more practice, more follow-up with either me or the parents.
What are some of the main challenges that you've seen in kids?
I've noticed most kids come to me these days with challenges around emotional regulation, confidence, anxiety. Sometimes it's also, fear of failure, fear of mistakes, which also comes back to, being a perfectionist and people pleaser. But again, that all comes from, there's always a why, there's always kind of a back story to it. But yeah, I've noticed these are the main things that I've been working with.
Confidence in kids so young.
Yeah.
Wow, that's heartbreaking.
Yeah, it is.
How do you identify when a kid comes to you that they have a challenge with their confidence or they're struggling with their confidence?
Yeah. Sometimes it's very obvious just from the way they carry themselves, their voice, their energy, their presence. Other times, it's actually the opposite. It can be a child who's loud and active and energetic, but then how they think of themselves, so how they speak to themselves, their mindset is negative. So they have more of a negative outlook on themselves and on life, which can affect their confidence as well.
Do you feel like after you pursued your kids' life coaching certification, you changed as a mom as well with your second?
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's still changing me. Like, it's maybe a bit of a backstory a bit. So as a child, I was always very, very shy, very quiet. I was always the one where, ما بتطلع صوتها, So growing up that way and then having two girls who are very outspoken, very energetic, very loud and active, where their presence is known and is shown, and it's the opposite of how I felt as a child. But although, especially my oldest one, because I still say she's like my guinea pig, because I started, she was in that age, she was like, 3.5, so like everything emotions was just the peak of it. Yeah. So when I started, digging into kids life coaching and started my work in it, it helped me understand her more, understand why she was feeling a certain way, and what things I can do to help her and to help myself as a parent as well. So actually, when I started kids life coaching, my childhood upbringing did not cross my mind. I did not make the connection that I was so shy and I was so quiet, and how did that transition into me now and what the role I'm having now as a kids life coach. But I think with time and reflection, it really kind of hit me that, okay, wow, like I kind of became that voice for kids where I would help them find their voice, like through teaching them understand life skills such as how to express their feeling, their emotions, and be confident to speak up, because I did not have that. I did not know how to do that. I was not comfortable doing that as a child. So seeing how I'm now able to do that with other kids just kind of really, it's such a big deal for me. It's such a kind of like that aha moment of yeah, it took me probably a while to find my own voice. And I'm still finding it. Like through honestly all the kids that I work with, I continue to learn more about myself. So yeah, I'm learning a lot through the kids I'm working with. They're helping me learn more about myself, and where I'm also reminding myself of how I was as a child, and it's helping me throughout my own also motherhood experience with my daughters, and it's just been such a rewarding and eye-opening journey.
Mm-hmm. What is one skill that you feel like kids should develop, the earlier the better?
I would say self-awareness, because it takes a lot to be able to pause and think, what am I feeling right now, or how do I want to react, or maybe I should pause and calm down before I respond. So that self-awareness is such a big skill, but it really impacts a lot of things, a lot of different skills. It will impact how they manage their feelings, because if they're aware of it, then they have a choice how they can respond. It can also impact their confidence, because if they're aware of how they're thinking, if they're aware of how they're behaving, it gives them that skill of, okay, like, if I know I'm thinking in a positive way, then that makes me feel better about myself. And that makes me feel that I can stand up for myself and that I can express and communicate. So that self-awareness, I feel it's such an important skill.
How can we as parents start teaching our kids self-awareness from the household?
I think it really starts with little things, as small as that, these small moments of connection and presence with the child. Because obviously as parents, I mean, I'm a mom, so I know how hard it is to, have these small moments of just fully present and being with your child, especially in a day and age where like life is so fast and is so busy. But creating these, small moments of connection where we're modeling for them, how we're talking or expressing about our day, for example, how we're talking or how we're talking to ourselves in front of the mirror. Like, I can sometimes intentionally, like, getting ready, and I know my girls are around me, I'd be looking at myself in the mirror and I would just kind of be complimenting myself or how I look, knowing they're around me and are looking at me or can hear me. So these small little moments where, because they always observe, our kids, all they do is really observe us and learn from us. So it's not really what we say, it's really how we act and how we behave that they're learning from. So that all really goes into how also self-aware they can become by observing us as parents and how we model things to them. So again, these small moments of, connecting with them, talking about our day. Like, I would talk to my daughters about, what happened during my day, what feelings I had based on this situation, what I did. And that also gives them that comfortable space and safe space to show them that they can also share with me. They can also tell me about maybe a mistake they've done or an exciting thing that happened during the day.
That's, honestly, they're a sponge, right? They soak up everything.
Yeah, for sure.
But there's only so much that they can take from the household, because then they spend a lot of their days in school and with their friends. But we don't see emotional intelligence being taught in school these days. Why do you think it's so important to integrate it into the schooling system as well?
Yeah. Nour, like, emotional intelligence is not, it will not be a subject. It's not like a subject that can be taught. It's through embedding it and transitioning it into the little things, into day-to-day life, day-to-day, classes in school. Because even in my kids' school, like, I see it maybe in early years more, in ages between 3 to 5, I can see it a bit. But I feel khalas, once the kids are in older grades, it's almost like something that they become not unaware of, but it becomes like something that's very secondary, something that's not really as important. But I really see emotional regulation being like the foundation of learning, because when the child feels that they're able to understand, manage their feelings, when the child feels that they're able to express and communicate that helps them focus more, that helps them feel more confident to go through or navigate problems in school, from homework to academics to peer pressure, to handle bullying. So it really affects a lot of areas within school, which is why it shouldn't be like, it's not like a subject to learn. It's really embedded in everyday language, even during school.
Mm-hmm. Can you give us an example? You said language. Can you give us an example of like a term that we should try to use as well when we're around our kids? You mentioned looking in the mirror, being positive, trying to have that positive outlook on how you look, sort of showing them that as well. But I feel like having emotional intelligence is something that we're still learning as adults.
Right.
It's such a heavy topic, and it's not easy. So if you were to give us like small sentences that we can start integrating into our daily lives with our kids, what would those be?
I love always asking kids questions. So for example, instead of telling them be nice, be kind, or say sorry, like I love to turn these into more questions. So for example, instead of saying say sorry, and they probably will say sorry, but do they understand why? Do they understand the logic behind it, or would they learn from it the next time? So for example, instead of saying say sorry, saying how can you make a better choice? Or instead of saying be kind and be nice, how can you make, or how can this be kind but also honest but also fair? So kind of turning these things into question, so because that gives your child more ownership and leadership in them trying to figure it out, and not, I think, us as parents always jumping into us wanting to fix and solve something. So we're telling them how to do it right away versus helping them to find their own way of dealing with it.
I love that. You took me back to a time when we were in a play area with my daughter, and a kid her age came and she took her toy from her, the toy that my daughter was playing with. And automatically, as a mom, what I wanted to do is I wanted to jump in, go get the toy back and give it to my daughter. But my husband sort of takes a minute and he asks my daughter, what do you want to do about that? How does that make you feel? And he gave her the chance to respond for herself and to feel like, I want to get back my toy, but I want to tell her that I'm playing with the toy. And she sort of handled it on her own. But as you said, as a parent, I wanted to fix the situation rather than give her that minute to handle it, and she did. And it surprised me at how she handled the situation.
Because it's normal. Like we don't want to see our kids get hurt, right? We don't want to see them suffer. We always want them to be happy. But I feel unfortunately we cannot continue to shelter them. They have to feel these feelings, and they have to stay with them for them to know that it's okay and it's fine to go through it. It just, you decide what you do about it.
And speaking of feelings, one of the things that always comes up in discussions when we're talking about toddlers is tantrums. How, or what is one tip that you would give parents when managing or helping them manage toddler tantrums? Toddler tantrums.
Works. Or
it's meltdowns. A tongue twister. Toddler tantrums.
First of all, parents, I think they need to understand that it's just very developmentally very normal for kids or toddlers to have this surge and peak of very big emotions and very big meltdowns. They're really trying to understand themselves, and that really starts with having all these emotions, and that's part of also them learning skills in general. So I actually think it's good that they are having all these feelings. They're learning, and that's how they're learning. So advice for parents to go through this phase is, because I know it's a very tough phase, like been through it and still a bit going through it with my younger daughter, is first, I think, understanding that it's okay. Like, these feelings are good. Big feelings are good. There's no good feelings and bad feelings. All feelings are actually good because they're messages, they're information that are telling us something about our child and how our child is doing. And also, it's an opportunity for us as parents and for the child to connect through these experiences, where, you know, obviously depending on the child age, but making them understand that I'm here for you, you're safe. Even with your big tantrum, I'm still with you and I still love you regardless of how your tantrum is. And use that as what we call co-regulation, because a child in that moment need some sort of a calm presence. So, and obviously for them as toddlers, as moms, probably we are the safest people in that moment. So just being next to them and let them cry, let them have that big feelings. So, like, stop saying like, stop crying, or that's not a big deal, or don't be scared, or it's okay, because that's not letting the child feel that they're heard or that they're understood. Let them process this feeling, let them feel it. Just be next to them and help them also understand how they're feeling. You can say things like, that made you feel really sad and upset that your friend took or snatched your toy. That makes sense. Like, I would feel the same way. He took something that's yours. So validating how they're feeling and let them feel that, like, I get you and it makes sense how you're feeling. And then through our calm presence, help them eventually calm down. And that's your really day-to-day life, where as moms, you can also practice different sort of calming techniques, calming strategies. And you can ask your kid, would you like a hug? Would you like to take a deep breath together? You'd like to go for a walk? You'd like to hug your teddy? And there are really a lot of different strategies that can be used, especially in that toddler year, because, you know, there is more that independency that's going on. It's always nice to give them also some choices of things that they can choose from, and also gives them that more of the independent and more control of their feelings.
Speaking of the independency and letting them sort of do things on their own, we lead a very fast-paced life. It's a very busy life these days. It's modern motherhood, right? How does that affect a child's emotions?
It does a lot. Like you said, especially with, you know, you have technology, you have academic pressure, you have very less unstructured play. So kids have a lot less downtime, a lot less quiet time. So that's very overstimulating. And when you're overstimulated, you're less grounded. When you're less grounded, then you're more prone to having, you know, these big feelings and these big emotions. And it really affects kids from all ages and adults as well, because adults on the same hand as well are going through that very fast-paced life, which is affecting their own emotions and feelings as well, which I think, because as moms and parents, we're still dealing with these big emotions, it makes sense why also our children are still, or which makes sense why children have that very common challenge. Because as mom and parents as well, we're still learning how to deal with it. And like I said before, kids really observe and learn through us, through observing us.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned screen time. Is it true that screen time leads to more tantrums?
Yes. Yes, but there's also different ways of dealing with it, right? Like anything else. Like obviously the type of screen matters, right? But also, yes, screen time and the type of thing, the type of show, the type of simulation that the child is watching also affects their brain differently. So, but because screen time in general gives that positive dopamine chemical to the brain, so they see it as such a beautiful experience that's making them so happy. So naturally, when you take something that makes you so happy away from you, you're gonna feel like, no, like I need that, I want that, give it to me more. So naturally, when we stop that, they would want it more. And as little kids, if they don't know how to express it, it's gonna come out in big feelings and emotions. Which is why I feel as moms, especially for little ones, that's when boundaries have to be put up a bit more towards screen time. It's going to be a lot of communication and pre-planning around screen time, letting the child know, okay, you're going to watch TV for this time, put some visual timer if they don't understand that, obviously. Letting them know, okay, there's 5 minutes left or 2 minutes left. And when that TV or screen time is off, that does not necessarily mean they're not going to have a tantrum. They might still have a tantrum, right? But it's about consistency of continuing to do it up until the child, khalas, they know what to expect. They know that, okay, if my mom said this is going to happen, and if she's consistent with keeping that boundary, then khalas, okay, I got used to this. It's gonna be consistent every time.
Yeah. Rather than sometimes, just saying, okay, fine, you can have additional.
Yeah. Like obviously, sometimes we give in and it's fine. Yeah. Right? We're not perfect. Like I've done it too, you know. But it's the consistency, right? If it's مرة مرتين يعني مرة, it's okay. But if it's the exception of the norm, of the rule, then it's okay. But the consistency of just doing it, because kids, especially little ones, they strive through like repetition and expectation. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you can relate. For example, like my kids, once they like a song, they like repeating the same song all over again, right?
Yes.
They love the same toy, they love the same shows, because that they strive for that, because they know what's gonna happen, what to expect. So same thing with boundaries, same thing with these sort of examples. If they know this is gonna be the answer every time, khalas, I got used to it, this is gonna happen. But if every time I'm like, and kids are smart, they're like, you know what, let's test it and see if my mom would give in today, because she gave in yesterday and the day before and the day before. So, and they're smart, so they will keep on testing the boundary. But we just have to be more firm, but calm.
Yeah, kids thrive on routine.
Yeah,
we've driven from Dubai to Abu Dhabi with apete on repeat.
Yeah,
because my daughter goes again. Yeah,
exactly.
So yeah, I can completely relate to everything you're saying. So Gigi, we've talked a lot about emotions and feelings and helping children sort of identify what kind of emotions they're going through. Do you have a favorite play-based activity or tool that you can share with parents to help them identify, or to help their kids identify these feelings that they're going through?
There are definitely a lot of games and play-based tools that I use, but one of my favorite is called the feeling sandwich. And parents can use it in different ways. Like during my sessions with the kids, because I just have a lot of different tools I have, for example, like a toy sandwich. So if they have that, they can use that, or they can actually really use like real sandwich ingredients. And how it works basically is it helps children understand how to express and how to communicate their feelings based on a situation that might have happened, or maybe based on something they've been thinking of. And it helps children and parents also connect the line from how the way we think or the way situations happen can affect how we feel, and how we behave or act. So how this feeling sandwich works basically is that I tell kids we start with the first layer of the bread. So the bread has 2 layers. So we start with the first layer. The first layer would be what happened. So what the situations that has happened, or the thought that you had that resulted in the feeling. So for example, I'll take the thought of football is fun, but I'm not as good as my friends, for example. That's the thought. So that's the first layer of the bread. Then we move into the toppings or the ingredients of the sandwich. So each ingredient, each topping is a feeling. So for example, the child would choose to put cheese. So they would put cheese on top of the first layer of the bread. So that would be one feeling. So I would ask them, okay, based on the thought, what feeling, how do you feel? So cheese would be, I feel nervous. Okay, so what other feelings you're having? So they would pick another ingredient. For example, if they chose to put cucumber. So what feeling would be a cucumber? So that would be another feeling. For example, sad. And we go on with different feelings. However much feelings they want to add, they can add. And then the first layer of the bread, or the last layer of the bread, that basically be how did you act? How did you behave based on how you were feeling and how you were thinking, or based on the situation? So that can be, I didn't want to play anymore. I gave up. I didn't push myself hard, for example. And that basically then show them more of like a tangible thing of how, thoughts plus feeling would equal at the end the final product of how we behave and how we act based on it.
That's so interesting. And guys, we have a little surprise for you. You don't have to write this down. Gigi prepared a freebie for everyone watching this episode, and you can get your hands on it through the links in the show notes below. Thank you for that, Gigi.
Of course.
And if you were to share with us, what are some signs that might show that the kid could need a little bit of additional support or coaching?
Things like very frequent meltdowns or tantrums, constant feeling of worry or anxious feelings, constant sadness that would not go away, difficulty sleeping. Because sleep is a very important thing. So difficulty sleeping, or even like change in their appetite. It can even be things that they used to really enjoy doing and they don't enjoy it anymore. So these are things that we try to look at, or for parents to look at when it comes to knowing maybe if the child needs some additional support or help. And a counselor can help with that, or a coach, or maybe a therapist, of course, depending on the child and what they need.
Mm-hmm. My 4-month-old has a difficulty sleeping. Should I bring him to these sessions? Gigi, where can parents reach you? How can they find you?
So I do all my private coaching from Kiani Wellness Center, but I'm also active on Instagram. So if anyone would like to get in contact with me, they can message me on Instagram.
Amazing. Do you have any mommy and me sessions?
Well, I have group workshops. So the group workshops, I start them as early as 3 years old. So they're, again, very life-skilled focused, where the child come with their mom or the parent. So the child can bond with their parent during these workshops. They're very play-based, but they also learn a lot from it, and they actually take some tools with them home as well.
Okay, thank you so much. I do want to end by asking you, if there's a mom out there that's listening, for the mom that might be dealing with her toddler having a tantrum in the parking lot or in the mall or in the supermarket, and you can tell she's feeling frustrated and she's feeling just upset at the whole situation. What are some tips that you would give her? What is something that you would tell her?
I would tell her that you don't have to be perfect, and you don't have to be the best mom that you think you want to be. It's really all about the small moments of connection and patience and presence that you can be with your child. And trust me when I tell you, you are the best mom your child needs. So be kind to yourself.
Thank you so much, Gigi, and thank you for being here and for sharing all of the
course.
valuable tips that you shared with us today. Thank you everyone for watching. Remember that if you've enjoyed this episode, please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. If you have a story of your own to share, please do share it with us. You know where to find me. You can find me on contact@madinatmom.com, www.madinatmom.com, or on Instagram @madinatmom. Until next time, make sure to take care of yourself as fiercely as you take care of your little ones.